Hello and welcome to Nintendo Live. Sydney, how you doing? Fantastic, because you guys are in for a treat. Over the next 2 days, we're crowning brand new champions across Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Platoon 3, starting in just a moment right here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, all on this stage. Now, all of our players have had a long road to get here, and we have brought the very best all together here at Australia's first ever Nintendo Live. We're going to play for this trophy. We'll be crowning a new title for AUNZ champion for all of our games. So, without further ado, let's get our engines revved up. Let's get the party started.
That's right, Avril. It's going to be a full weekend of esports competitions here live from Nintendo Live in Sydney for the very, very first time. So I'd like to welcome everybody here to my desk for the AUNZ Championships for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. My name is Fluke. I'm going to be joined by two wonderful gentlemen. It's going to be Pilsky as well as Skimmy. Lads, welcome here to the AUNZ Championships for 2024. Pilsky, we'll start with you, mate. How excited are you for Mario Kart 8?
Super excited. It's like a trip back down memory lane. You know, both me and you, Luke, we've been doing a lot of different esports titles together, but I have to say Mario Kart definitely has a special place in my heart, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the competition goes.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, it's definitely your childhood coming full circle again, right back to it all began. Really excited to see the level of competition from some of these players. Some have been overseas already, some have been in these situations before, but with a packed out local crowd, you can't ask for much more than this.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting to see what our racers put on the stage throughout the 12 courses that we have sitting in front of you guys for today. So let's go and have a look at the format and see how this is all going to pan out. As I did just spoil just then, 12 courses, 12 races. We have our 12 qualified players throughout the entirety of today. Pilsky, we have some returning players from 2023. We have a returning champion as well in Panda being able to come back in, but with a few more of these qualified players, it's a brand new experience for them here on the stage.
100%, you know, some of them do have some previous experience. Some of them have been, you know, playing over in the online circuit, things like that. I think it's going to be even more special if you can potentially win yourself an AUNZ championship at Nintendo Live in a Nintendo game. You know, that's an extra level of clout, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think for a lot of these players, it was a chance for them to get their teeth really soaked into the idea of a competitive circuit for Mario, right? 6 days of those qualifiers, some players going for every game, every match, every day, getting as much of that practice as possible. And yeah, with all 12 competitors on stage, you got to make sure that your nerves are settled.
Exactly, especially when it comes to all 12 courses as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to get these wins as well. But this is how it's all going to pan out for everybody playing along at home. 150cc races, it's going to be no teams, normal kind of items, and all vehicles will be available as well. We're going to have no smart steering, so it's all about the players that are here on the stage, Pilsky. Yeah. And having this kind of very even playing field, it really means that the best races are going to come out on top.
100%. I mean, you know, it's Mario Kart, so it is fun, but let's be honest, you know, smart steering, the equivalent of putting the bumpers up when you're going bowling. So, you know, you want to be making sure we're keeping, you know, the integrity of the competition and maintaining the skill of the players to be on show on the stage here.
Exactly, so let's go and have a look at these 12 courses that we're going to be having a crack at today. A little bit of a change from 2023, but we've still got the old classics in here, Skimmy as well. We've still got a lot of these courses that are floating through as well, and I think a special one for, you know, when you're looking at things like Rainbow Road, there's a whole lot of different variations, so it's very important to be having a look at where these courses are coming from and see where you can get those dubs.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that we're going to be looking at today, Luke, is the consistency, right? The difficulty of these courses is going to be ramping, ebb and flowing, up and down we go. You look at Rainbow Road as the most notorious for that, right? There are no bumpers, as Pilsky mentions before there, right? So by the tail end of that 111 games in a row, you've got to really make sure, okay, this could be a chance for some comeback potential.
Exactly. Pilsky, is there any of these courses that are sticking out to you that you're excited to see?
Oh, look, we're starting off nice and friendly with Animal Crossing, but we've got some pretty serious ones in here as well. You know, Wario Stadium, Koopa City's giving me a little bit of a cyberpunk vibe. And that's the great thing about Mario, you know, all these different aesthetics, all these different art styles that you get to see. You know, you can catch yourself be a little bit distracted by the scenery around and forget how serious of a competition you're about to embark upon.
Exactly, and speaking of competition, let's go and see how these points are going to work out. So for each one of these courses, each racer will get a certain amount of points depending on where they finish in that course. We talked about consistency, and you can see it here already, Skimmy. 15 points for first, second goes into 12, and then it goes down to 10, and then it's 1 point off for each place. So these early race wins are also important.
Yeah, the podium's going to be the most important position for a lot of these players, right? Obviously, first and second have that little extra incentive to try and pick that one up. But I'm sure for the majority of these players with those 12 courses, just to get top 6 alone may just be enough to scoop your way in.
Exactly, and especially when we get later in the race day as well, it means that it's going to be all important for these players. So let's go and have another check-in with these players and see where they're going to be ending up. And this is the wonderful faces of all the races that we've got today. So you guys out in the crowd and watching along at home can understand which one of your favorite races is going to be going forward. So obviously, Pilsky, we've got BLJ, Panda, and Vike who are coming in from 2023 AUNZ Championships. Panda is the previous champion, is able to come back in 2024 and see if they can defend their title.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, as I mentioned before, particularly a little bit more special by the fact that this is going to be a Nintendo event at Nintendo Live. Big crowd on offer here, so a fair bit of pressure for some of these players, and it's definitely going to be helping them out to, you know, have that previous experience. But looking at some of the newer players as well, Ace up there on the stage as well as Vike, I'm keen to see what some of these new faces can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Vike, it was a pretty consistent performance to get him here today. Never really jumped out of that top 6 position for Zakata. A little bit of a rougher affair, right? Day number 1 came in 25th position, but by day 6, finished it out with a strong 5th place.
Yeah, exactly, and as we, being able to see our wonderful racers up here on the stage, you can hear that some of them have their own cheer squads. Everybody's going to be rooting for everybody that's going to be going out today. As we said, 12 races, 12 courses, so plenty of opportunity for all these players to be able to get themselves done. Yesterday we had a little rehearsal, so we got to have a little bit of a sneak peek at some of our races as well. There were a few that were starting to get themselves out on top, but I think, at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that when you come in here, you have fun with a lot of these races, Pilski, and make sure you're trying to just, compete to the best of your ability.
100%. I mean, it's going to start off a little slowly, but as we kind of mentioned, a similar kind of format to some of the other esports titles with BRs that we, do see. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to get yourself lots of points. You can start out a little more slowly. There you go, Panda. That's going to be the main man to keep your eye on, as he is looking to go back-to-back from last year if possible.
Yeah, you can see there's quite a lot of fans for a lot of these players as well, so I'm super excited to see when one of these racers is able to get on top of the podium here, Skimmy, and see the cheers from the crowd. As you can see, it's very, very packed in here already, to be perfectly honest. I don't think there's any seats left. There's plenty of standing room out the back as well. So we're getting ourselves ready for our first course here. And Skimmy, I am oh so excited to see who's going to start coming out hot from the top. About whether or not the strategy for some of these races is I want to go super hard in the first couple of courses, get myself a nice little lead, and then just kind of play the middle of the pack for the rest of the day.
Well, that's what I do wonder here, Luke, is just how strategical will this event be, right? Are we going to have players that are looking to try and rush out the gate to make a bit of a sprint, try and get themselves that podium finish in the first 4 rounds? Or is it a case of keeping it cool, calm and steady, not trying to make any enemies, no grudge matches? Because I'm sure there are going to be some people out there with a particular power-up saying, you are the focus. If I can't win, you can't either.
Yeah, that's going to be the real question, right, Pilski, is who's really going to put themselves up and put a target on their back in this first race?
100%, and there's not going to be that established hierarchy of one player who's points ahead and you're wanting to try to sabotage them. So right out the gates with the multi-POV, seeing how things start to settle early on here, who's going to take themselves an early lead, and it's, already Panda right up the front of the pack.
Yeah, it's Panda, the one to watch, and had a phenomenal entry into this tournament, currently sitting at first place, only played in day 1 of the qualifiers, came first, said that's my job done, I'm ready to perform.
Well, Panda up first. You got BLJ hot on his heels in second. Third, TK drop there, getting the 4 POV here. Got the triple mushrooms there, so a lot of boost on offer. Fireflower there for COD, who unfortunately gets knocked down into 10th, coming up the bad end of an item there as he starts the second lap for himself towards the back end of the pack.
Yeah, 3-man race here at the very front though, and you can see that really Panda is looking to try and create a little bit of daylight between him and the rest of these competitors. Bit of a rush in the middle of the pack as we honestly swap around between 5th and 6th with TK drop there right now. Actually going to get hit by the Thunder Strike, and that's going to drop him down even further in the placings.
Yeah, it seems like there's a whole fight for that middle of the pack, and you can see Panda unfortunately just got hit there by the Squiddy. It means they will be losing out on that first place. Going to go all the way down to 3rd, as we can see Zakatar coming in the first place as well, really starting to streak out here in this final lap of this first course. And if you get that first up, that's a whole lot of points to put in the bank.
Yeah, stacked up the 10 coins, going nice and fast here. Going to get hit by the blooper, but straight across the finish line there. Going to manage to continue to keep himself up the front, hitting a couple of ramps and some drifts on the way through, and still maintaining that first place. Unless he gets hit with an item here, I dare say that he's going to be the favourite to take this first one.
One final boost, doesn't opt for the little shortcut there. Wants to play it as clean as he can. Oh, just gets pinched! Just at the deadlock, gets pinched away to take second, and Sakata, he must have thought he'd done everything right there.
Yeah, he was holding on to that banana peel as well for that final quarter, but Fight comes in at the 11th hour. It scorches through for a first course victory.
And that's what's so exciting about Mario Kart. You think you have someone out in front, for the majority of the race, it's Panda, but it's going to be Vike who clinches it in the last 2 seconds of the race, managing to make it around, and he's going to be the main man to keep your eye on going forward now. Maybe he's going to paint a bit of a target on his back for some of those items.
I exactly think that too, Pilski. There's nothing better than saying, I've pinched away first position and I sit right next to you. And your eyes, a little bit of like, hey, I'm in your head now, but what a phenomenal way to open up this event.
I mean, that's a great thing, right? All shoulder to shoulder.
Yep.
We see our various esports, some very separated from your opponents. Massive turnout. Thank you guys all for coming out here. Some waves from the crowd, some fantastic costumes as well. We got a lot of Mario fans here ready to watch the majority of these races, and already had a pretty exciting first one.
Yeah, the Animal Crossing Cup comes down to the final couple of moments there for Vike, and unfortunately there for the last couple of races, Zakatar just not losing out there. It is only a 3-point gap. They do get 12 points out of that, coming in second. So it's not the end of the world. And I mean, there's still 11 more courses to go, lads. So there's still plenty of time to be able to get those dubs on the board and really be able to make a comeback. But Vike definitely is starting to put a target on their back, being able to snake that final victory.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to heading into the next map as well. Sherbet Land, a bit of a mix of that kind of ice aesthetic, some snow around there. You go underwater for a little bit. Always exciting, to see the different map design and, outside of just the aesthetic as well, with these players being so familiar with a lot of these different maps. I'm sure they'll have their favorites. I'm sure they'll have little tricks, to try and get an edge here or there. You saw yesterday in some of the rehearsal games, some of the players jumping across some of the courses and trying to get little edges with the boosts and things like that. There's definitely a Mario Kart meta that I'm very blissfully unaware of from my time playing it way too long ago.
I think they were honestly looking to try and set the tone very early on from the rehearsals. Whilst those games didn't matter, there was no audience, no real end product. It was a case of, look, I am going to be a fierce competitor here, and when the stage is set, then yeah, watch out for me. But Sherbet Land, a very quick turnaround between maps, right? So no chance to really dwell in the emotion of coming last place perhaps, or just missing out on that first position. It's, a 5-minute turnaround, really, and off we go again.
Yeah, that's something we haven't really touched on, lads, is the fact that it's going to be back-to-back races until we do potentially have a break a little bit later on, if that's what's going to happen. So not much time to try and recoup and get back into the zone.
Alrighty, well, into Sherbet Land we go. Love the aesthetic of this map. Got the little fairy lights already out of the gate, getting ourselves with our first cycle of items. A lot of mushrooms and boosts on offer. You got a shell on Panda there early on, but he's not really needing to use that as he's out in first position. Until someone overtakes him, he's not going to need to burn the items too much.
He's not too worried just yet. He's keeping a very tight line, though, going into these corners, knowing that people are very much hot on his heels, constantly talking to that camera to make sure that he's at no risk just yet. But you can see it's BLJ actually a massive tussle here to try and take it over as they both go underwater and look to collect as many of those coins as possible.
That's the interesting thing with this map, is there's different spaces that you can take in the middle half of this course. You really be able to go underwater. Maybe you want to try and stay up on the high ground, try and get yourself a little bit more of that extra boost. But it's all about the items that you have and what positions you want to try and take. So that's where the meta will really start to go out here. We did see a big boomerang there on the Flicko, who unfortunately is going to be dropping all the way down into fifth.
Yeah, definitely tussling the middle order of things up the front here. A lot of positions swapping back and forth, starting to max out the coins on a couple of these players, so we're going real fast at this point, Skimmy.
And we certainly are. Panda, though, starting to get a little bit of distance, a bit of night and day between himself and BLJ. Muda making a bit of a late siege and a surge towards the finish as well. Came last place here on Animal Crossing. Really wants to up the ante, and hope that's not the case this time.
Yeah, there's definitely a big gap that's starting to come out here from the leaders. So Panda is starting to scorch forward here on the yellow Yoshi. He's able to just get a whole lot of that momentum going with a lot of these coins going in. Gets the bomb as well, so he's been able to drop that out the back. And now with an extra item coming up and only half a lap to go, this could be Panda's race to lose.
Oh, getting knocked though. Maxing out the coins yet again, picking those up, and he's still maintained that first.
Oh, BLJ!
Multiple mushrooms taking over. First place is BLJ here though, and starting to try to maintain that lead and see if he can snag that first place. He's pretty far out in front of the rest of the pack. It's going to take a while for the rest to catch up, and a lot of those players very closely contested.
Nicely done, just a home straight to claim, and BLJ at the very finish there manages to sneak that one away. It was a bit of a clutch timing on some of those power-ups with the blue shell, then into the lightning rare after, and a chance for those standing just to once again at the very finish.
Yeah, big positive there for BLJ was having the triple mushroom there to be able to get through that lightning strike to just keep that lead ever so far, just to be able to get that first victory here for BLJ. So one of our returning players from 2023 comes in with the second course victory, and that just means that our ladder is going to become ever so tight. Unfortunately, didn't see Vike fall too far towards the top. Getting that 15 points in that first map now means that this second course is going to be not as fruitful for Vike this time around.
100%. Definitely keep our eye on the overall standings and seeing how things develop. It's well and truly early days here though. 10 more races to play as we look through some of the highlights here. It's even like Yoshi is a pretty popular choice at the moment.
Certainly seems to be the case, but it's also interesting for me is that both games now we've seen Panda take a massive lead at the very start, strong acceleration. That's one of the negative side effects, right, of being in that lead, is that you are going to be the focus of all those blue shells, of the majority of those item boxes. And that's exactly what we saw here, where BLJ sneaks it from right underneath his nose.
It's always good when you see these players be able to come out from hot on the blocks and really try and put themselves at the front. You can see here Vike got themselves 8 points out of that, coming in 5th. So Panda got themselves 9 as well, with BLJ getting the lion's share of all of those points, 15 for them in Sherbet Land. But as you said, Pilski, it's early days, still 10 more courses to go.
Yeah, at the same time though, you're even seeing some pretty strong finishes in the first race, and a lot of those players, even if they're not taking first or second, they're still keeping themselves in the top 6. And we've talked about it already, consistency being key across 12 races. If you're keeping yourself in the top 6, you're stealing yourself away a few wins or second places in these races, then you're definitely a contender for taking out the whole of the AUNZ Championship here at Mario Kart 8.
You certainly are, and it's a chance now for us to get excited about the next map in Excitebike Arena. My personal favorite. I like this one, nice and simple. It's like that dirt bike track that you've come to know and enjoy growing up as a kid, right? And you get all those powerful boosts, the speed ups, the bumps. It's a simple one in its theory, but certainly some skill aspects about it.
Yeah, definitely, especially because it is one of those shorter courses as well. It means that this early start from Panda that we've seen 2 courses in a row is going to be very, very important for them to try and hold that lead in the Excitebike Arena. And it is going to be one of those kind of technical courses as well. Pilski, we saw a little bit of it yesterday, so I'm excited to see what players pull out today when it is all for the points.
100%. Great to see the turnout of the crowd. Got a lot of goodie bags and things like that here at Nintendo Live as well. I definitely need to have a little bit of a peruse later on.
I was going to say, I'm
I
starting to get a little jealous that we're sitting here on the desk, Pilski. We're casting some great Mario Kart, but we don't get the goodie bags.
Oh, but you know what? You know, these players, I'm sure they'll have a peruse of their own as we head into the 3rd race here, but they definitely, for the time being, will have all eyes on that golden trophy. That thing looks amazing.
Nice simple circuit here, much like NASCAR, you're just doing laps and laps and laps around a nice little oval shape there, and you can really up and and say which kind of angle do I want to take, the straight or the flips for all of those power-up boosts. Once again, it is Panda in the lead, just to be taken away though by Cove 49, as he looks to try and assert himself as a real threat in map number 3.
Yeah, I think as we said, simple course, but it's all about the execution of a lot of these jumps, right? If you're going from jump to jump and getting that momentum going, that's when you're really able to come out on top. You can see BLJ here has the triple green shell, so maybe able to take out a few more of their competitors in the front, ekes themselves in towards that 2nd place, and you can see our 1st place is back to Panda here on the yellow Yoshi. Now trying to see a whole lot more of this corner cutting coming in from BLJ, but Panda's got a nice little lead here. As long as these items don't come out thick and fast, Panda should be able to hold on to this going into that final lap.
He's done a fantastic job avoiding a lot of slip-ups. Definitely seen him dodge a couple of shells already. There's one of those blue shells, though. These have been the bane of his existence. BLJ once again taking 1st place off of him.
He certainly does, but it's going to be Panda that gets a double item box, 2 red shells to utilize it. That homing missile can look to lock down BLJ in his sights and reclaim pole position.
You can already see here Panda throws out that 1st red shell in the back to try and get that 3rd position away from them. BLJ still up in the lead. We've got 1 corner left to go before we start going in towards this straight. Pilski, it's getting tight.
100%. Pod, unfortunately, in the top left there, getting knocked from 3rd down to 7th, eating an item from one of the other players. BLJ in here on 1st, making his way around the corner. Panda right behind him, trying to see if he can grab one of these item boxes and be able to try to find the right item to make the difference. There you go, he's got himself the boombox, but unfortunately not able to make it good enough. He ends up in 3rd, and BLJ finishing the race in 1st. Was that a back-to-back for you?
Back-to-back came 1st place. Unbelievable there from BLJ, and once again it's at Panda's expense. He's constantly chasing, and it wasn't to be.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing there for Panda was it was the red shell coming in from 3rd place was what got him in that final corner going in trying to take down BLJ, and then BLJ only had to get through a few more of those oil slicks and only had coins in hand, so it was all too easy for BLJ this time around. Now they're sitting themselves very high at the top of the leaderboard here, boys. This is where it starts to get scary for some more of these competitors. If BLJ starts getting a lot more of these, top 2, top 3s, things really start to, this lead starts to really start to grow as we get deeper into this tournament.
Yeah, 100%. Already stacking up 35 points, the majority of those being from back-to-back wins in 2nd and 3rd. So you've got your eyes on BLJ, you've got your eyes on Panda. It's been the same couple of people getting off to early starts here, and every single time we've seen Panda jump out straight into 1st place multiple times and eat one of those blue shells, and unfortunately, maybe it might be better, more beneficial to just be sitting 2nd or 3rd, riding Panda's coattails, waiting for him to eat that blue shell. I mean, I think BLJ's been benefiting from that 2 maps in a row now.
Yeah, they've just been sneaking, playing very patiently and making that late surge, much like the Olympics, right? When you watch them just go for that final lap on those endurance races around the sprint, and it's just crazy to me to see the Panda twice now. He's going to be feeling the heat and knowing that he is a very fierce competitor. I'm not far off him, but currently sat in second.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part for Panda is, obviously they don't want to change the way that they race all too much, right? Because if you start to change that, then you really get yourself out of your own groove. But it is kind of this double-edged sword, right? Where you're the one that's in the lead, so you're going to be taking those blue shells as they go through. And if you start getting in the lead in that final lap, that's when these blue shells are going to be less likely. But a lot of these other competitors throughout the rest of the field, they're the ones that are still starting to make this fight, right? We can see Ace coming in second in the Excitebike Arena. That's a whole boatload of points for them to be able to go up into this into the standings as well.
100%, and some of the players that we did see off to a hot start, you're starting to see things kind of equalize a little bit. Zakata was, leading that early race. Vike as well, I think, didn't get too many points in the last one, but he's had a strong first 2 races for himself. So definitely things starting to even up a little bit. And a couple of competitors who have had a little bit of a slower start, but, we're only, 25% of the way through. Still plenty more opportunities for a lot of these players.
Absolutely, going to be looking at Mooden in particular, right? Looking to try and see if he can join the rest of that pack, because anywhere from 11th all the way up to 6th, it's only a map or two in between, a couple of standings, and suddenly, hey, pressure, you're back in the mix.
That's the crazy thing, right? You win 1 or 2 of these courses and you rocket from, all the way down the bottom of the standings to all the way to the top. So it is still early days for a lot of these players as we see the beautiful Mario Kart 8 Deluxe trophy that's going to be sitting in the center of the stage for all of these competitors to try and compete for. We're going to be jumping into the Wario Stadium here, Pilski, and this is where things really start to tighten up, right? We've had a few of these courses. We've gone 3 deep now. We understand how some of these players want to play. Some people want to play from the back. Some people want to play from the front. This is where we really start to get into the nuts and bolts of how this tournament is going to pan out.
Yeah, Wario obviously a big favourite, or maybe a little bit divisive. So you do get a nice big statue of him in the Wario Stadium to be looking at, but you can't be too distracted by that. Going to be having a couple of twists and turns, couple of drifts. A lot of players benefit from being able to have those great movements on the drifts, and there's definitely lots of opportunities here to do that. You can already see in the first couple of turns.
Well, here we are then, right out the gates and straight onto the dirt bike track itself. It's once again no surprises. Panda and BLG first and second, looking to really make this event all about them as they jump through those rings of fire and look to make sure that this first one is a safe one.
Yeah, they're definitely doing a lot of work in these opening stages. We saw, in the previous couple of days, what happens when you go out to these early leads for BLJ and Panda. There still is that target on your back, as we see the top 4 are starting to make their way through this course as well. And this is one of the important parts of this course. Just before you head towards the finish line here, that underwater moment, if you have one of those mushrooms, you can do that nice little shortcut around the corner, and that's going to be very important for these players going into those final couple of laps.
Aaron, unfortunately, getting knocked down to 10th there. Mooden, this could be his redemption arc, though. 3rd after being down last in terms of the overall point standings. If he can just sit there patiently, wait for Panda or BLJ to maybe eat a blue shell or 2, then maybe this can be his chance to score some serious points, Skimmy.
He certainly will be hoping that luck is on his side right now, because there doesn't seem to be anything apart from this individual error from these 2 and BLJ and Panda that can look to break up this positioning. Mooden, no doubt, hopefully will just be biding his time and hoping, as you say, the right item appears at the right time.
Exactly, into the final lap now for the Wario Stadium. This is where it all comes down for a lot of these points. Mooden's made themselves known here in their second position. They've got that mushroom to be able to play around with here. BLJ doesn't get much of an item, only gets themselves a coin. They're already at max points, so it doesn't seem to matter. Panda out in front, though, with a banana. This is such a big lead for them, Pilski.
There is no way you're catching Panda. Look how far in front he is right now. Definitely in the pole position, been taking the majority of the points here. You can see just how tightly contested the pack is behind him. BLJ hot on the toes here at TK Drop Bear, trying to make sure he can score himself some serious points, but there you go. Panda, the favorite going into this event for a reason.
And I love that the blue shell finally did come out there, but it was chasing Panda for what felt like an eternity. He crosses the finish line, and at that point, it's just too little too late, but he's going to feel ecstatic about that one, right? Coming in as the heavyweight, as the favorite, to finally get that first win.
Especially after we just saw the final standings there for that course as well. BLJ, I believe, finished 5th. So there's still a lot of these races that are starting to creep up, and it means that big lead that BLJ had going into this 4th course, Pilski, is now starting to shrink. And that's a big positive for a lot of these other races, that this course is still tight after 4 maps.
Try to potentially make up some of that deficit if possible. Loving the drifts that you're seeing in this map in particular. You got a couple of these maps with a big jump early on as well that can definitely kind of change things up a little bit. And You can see plenty of boosts on offer for some of these players. A couple of little banana shells being jiggled around there, but Panda was, the majority of that race well out in front. And as you mentioned, Skimmy, with how much distance he was putting between himself and the rest of the pack, he wasn't even really too concerned about those blue shells.
Yeah, night and day now. Will mean that Panda will take outright first pole in the standings. Will mean that BLJ unfortunately drops down as a result of 8th. It wasn't to be there, Luke, not the 5th. That was a really upsetting performance then.
Yeah, look at Mooden as well, 4th. We want to see a bit of a redemption for him, a bit of a turnaround for him. He's definitely scored himself some serious points. And there you go, Vike as well, being very consistent, winning that first race. We felt like he kind of sneaked away with that victory a little bit, but he's showing to be very consistent map to map as well.
I mean, the biggest thing for me between the top 4, there's only 5 points in it, Skimmy. That is nothing when it comes to being able to win some of these races, and especially the fact that we have still 8 courses to go. There is plenty of points on offer for a lot of these players. I mean, even all the way down to Ninstar Rose, they can even still make a late surge, get 1 or 2 map victories in a row, start to get a whole lot of those points, and all it takes is, Panda or BLJ or some of those other members at the top to just falter 1 or 2 times, and the gap closes.
And the thing I'm interested about, right, is we're not seeing too much risk-taking just yet, right? And I'm wondering as we get later on into these courses where the shortcuts can become that much more daring, if we're going to start to see people think, okay, the pressure is really on. I need a big finish here. I need, 5th or above, for instance. So we'll get to wait and see if that were to come out anytime early days.
I mean, we saw it yesterday in a few of the rehearsal games, and I'm sure for all of the Mario enthusiasts out there, they know that, it can be a bit of a risk versus reward to try to get yourself across, some of that open space. And if you don't quite time it right, or you don't quite get the angle right, it can be disastrous.
Especially because there is only 3 laps for all of these courses as well, right? Relatively short. It's only a couple of minutes for you to stay in each one of these courses. So it is all about making sure you hit every single one of those jumps if that is something you want to try and go for here. Back again, once again for another course. It is Koopa City this time around. A lot of these Yoshis really trying to get themselves in the front. It's BLJ that is trying to get hit by a red shell there from Panda.
Yeah, unfortunate. Back down into 8th after really front-running the majority of this race. Not too many points to his name either, so unfortunately he's going to have to drop back for the time being. Panda out in first once again. And Mooden, talk about a redemption story. This man is really starting to pick it up race to race here, Skimmy.
He certainly is, but also Boom wants to get himself in the mix of things too and try and keep the battle interesting, but it is to be Mooden that gets knocked down by 1, down to 6 as a result. Just showcases, if you get stuck in the middle of the pack, it is such a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, that big Thunderstrike there means that Panda is going to lose a lot of this lead as well. They have been able to close the gap, and they're really starting to come behind Panda now, all the way down into second for our front runner of the competition so far, Mooden. Once again, this is such a tight pack in the middle of this race with still an extra lap to go. It is anybody's race.
BLJ down in 12th, but you can see just how tightly spaced the pack is back there. There's still plenty of opportunities for some of these players here. Quicko, someone we haven't talked about too much, out in front here, who moving into the 3rd lap here could potentially have a chance to steal himself away a race, especially at a critical juncture such as this, starting to get towards that halfway point in the tournament. Would be a great time to start performing.
Blue shell's coming, boys. It's coming. Quicko's out in front here. They still got about half a course to try and go. That eventually will go into the leader. There's a couple more of these shells that are starting to hit into everybody, and it's Panda has now finally gotten the lead with only a little bit left to go here. Skimmy, who's going to come out on top?
Got the one big bend here, and most importantly, the big wraparound at the end to get down the final straight. He's got Quicko on his tail, but only a banana. It's not the right point, right power to try and take this one back, and it looks like Panda on the home straight makes it back to back.
So consistent, even when he's eating all of those items. You saw at one point in this race copping a lightning strike straight into the squid, straight into a shell as well, and he is still able to maintain his placing in the top couple of races. And then even if someone does overtake him, potentially put himself in a position where all it's going to take is one mistake or one player up in front of him eating an item, and then he's going to be straight back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for Panda was in the middle half of that race, they had such a big lead, right? So as soon as those items started to come out, that lead really was able to give themselves such a big buffer that they didn't fall too far behind. You know, we've seen sometimes where these opening races, they go out to a big lead, they get hit with a few items, and they just fall all the way down to 8th, and it is such a grind trying to get back to the top. Whereas for Panda, I believe they only dropped down to 3rd after a few more of those items.
But I think for BLJ, they've done an impressive job here because they, got knocked down to 12th at one stage, and a lot of room to try and make up there with only a lap left to go. So for them to showcase that they can still stay in the mix of things is pretty impressive. But Quicko, I mean, unfortunate for him, 40 minutes just snuck in there to get that first position. But maybe Panda's adjusted his strategy now. Says, I might just go second instead, and I can always be there to try and sneak it away.
It's been a long time since I've watched or played very much Mario Kart, but you can just see from Panda, like the movement is so clean. The way that he's like drifting around some of these bends, it just looks way too clean. He does really kind of look like he's a cut above some of these other players, and you can see why he was able to win last year.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like there is some very smooth movers that are throughout the entirety of this tournament. As we can see here, Panda still standing on top of the outright leaderboard. BLJ has snuck themselves back into second with 48 points here. Wicko, though, is able to now get into a third spot.
We're starting to see a pretty big point gap emerge, though. 58, 48, and then you're dropping to 40 and, you know, down to 6th place, like 33 points in between, you know, Zakata and Panda, and that's the halfway point in the competition. You're already starting to see that if some of these players don't have some monumental races in the next couple, then they're probably not getting their hands on the trophy.
Absolutely right, as you say, right between 6th and 1st place, it is a complete pole position. So there's a lot of room to try and make up right now, but as we go into Hyrule Circuit, it's a chance for them to showcase, all right, is my strategy so far correct? Do I need to try and adjust things? And who is the focus? Because it has been a lot about Panda and BLG, but in these last few ones, it's been the likes of Furico Vike as well as Mood, and looking to try and showcase that, hey, don't forget about us too.
Yeah, exactly. There's still a whole lot of good races that are sitting on the stage there. Every single one of our 12 competitors is here for a reason. So there's still plenty of Mario Kart to play here as we get into circuit number 6, the Hyrule Circuit. And as we said, with that upright leaderboard, there is a big gap that is starting to open up here. And the maximum that you can change in those leaderboards is only 14 points, right? 15 for first, 1 point for second, and for last. So if you start to get that lead all too big, it's going to be hard for some of these races to come back.
Bloody Groundhog Day again here. Panda out in first, and you can see, you know, a couple of the contenders that you're seeing right up the top of the leaderboard. Flicko, someone that we hadn't talked about too much, is continually putting himself in the top couple of races here. Has not picked himself up too many crystals, so you can see Panda going real fast, maxed out at 10 crystals and continuing to drift around all of these corners and keep himself right up the front of the pack.
Well, COD49 is the one to keep your eye on right now, currently set in 2nd position, but in the standings in 9th. This would be massive implications if he can try and retain his position, because not really have too much to celebrate just yet, but Panda would be the one to try and take down, so can they find those all-important shells?
Yeah, I think the important thing for me right now is looking at how far ahead Panda is, because Hyrule Circuit is a very technical race when it comes to, you can see all of the issues that you have. You can bounce into a lot of things in the environment as well, and with all these items that are floating around, if you get yourself into a position where it doesn't matter if you make a small little mistake here and there, you can really start to eke out a lead, as you can see so far. TK drop there though, in third, trying to get a lot of these corners done with that red shell sitting in the back pocket.
Bike here with a couple of boosts on offer, trying to keep himself in a good position to snag away a second, because that's what you're playing for at this point. Red Shell going to try and connect onto Bike there, but not quite finding its target, as Flicko running into a couple of issues, getting hit by the squid.
Oh, he's going to get hit by 2 in a row now. Lightning into the blue shot. It's going to really slow down just how much of a divide he's created around this
Still ahead.
massive staircase wraparound. He knows that hot on his heels will be some competitors, and it is that final lap. You cannot afford to make a mistake now.
Oh, Vikes on their tail as well, but Panda does have a green shell in their back pocket, so they have to be careful about when you use this red shell here from Vikes, so it doesn't get counted out by Panda as well. You can see they're constantly looking behind them, trying to get themselves towards the end here, and it is Panda who will just hold on to that lead, but boy, they made it close.
Yeah, and looking into the second half of the competition here, just back-to-back dubs for Panda. 15 points on offer every single time, jumping right up towards 73. 20-point diff. I mean, I don't know, at what point are you starting to think about playing for second place?
Incredibly hard to try and catch up to him now, as you rightly say. That's 45 points in the last 3 games, maximum on offer. And you're saying, look, as far as I am creating a distance in the map, I'm actually doing that in the standings now. So rightfully, as you say, he's already got one eye on the prize.
One hand on the trophy indeed for Panda. Still a couple of maps to go here for some of these other players. Who knows? Now with Panda with that giant target on their back, maybe some players might be throwing some shells their way. Maybe some people are really going to try and get in front of them. I think the biggest thing for me as well is, as we keep going through these courses as well, they get to start in first spot. So the thing is, for Panda, obviously really wanting to try and be in first for the majority of all these courses. If they keep winning these courses, they're going to keep staying in front. So that is going to be much harder for a lot of these other races to really try and get into them, really try and disrupt what Panda has been trying to do for the entirety of this tournament so far. And with, as you said, Pilsky, a big 20-point lead so far. They are leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of these other races.
That was
a great course to watch as well. You know, as you kind of mentioned, Luke, there's a couple little technical areas, a couple little shortcuts that you're seeing as well these players take and potentially try to give themselves a little bit of an edge. As looking at the results of that map there, Panda out in first, Vike's getting himself some good points on the board as well. Fwiko, you know, he's up the top in terms of the standings as well, and you know, as we mentioned before, keeping yourself in sixth, very, very important to try to keep yourself in the top half.
Absolutely is. As we check with the overall standings, and you can see on your screen, it is Panda pole position at 73 points to his name. BLJ has been his fiercest competitor, you'd say, so far. His grudge, if you will, at 53. But Vike, Fwiko, as well as Drop Bear, all looking to try and say we're still in the running.
Yeah, there's a lot of touching distance between a lot of these races, right? Like, obviously, Panda's sitting out head and shoulders above everybody else, but everyone from second, I'd say, all the way down into the 12th, there is still potential. With the amount of courses that we have left, we are going into course number 7 here. That means we have just ticked over the halfway mark as everyone's getting ready to see who will be the next AUNZ champion here for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in 2024. It looks like so far it could be Panda, but Pilski, anything can happen.
100% into Coconut Mall as we see some facts about Panda here. Favorite special item. I mean, I'd be taking notes at this point, given the performance in the tournament. You know, I might be writing some of these down. Favorite map, Bone Dry Dunes, not going to be on offer today, but you know what? It doesn't really seem to be about preference. He seems to just dominate on every map.
Yeah, I mean, a very hard map, that one, very technical, so no wonder Panda is so experienced coming to these ones. Very simple circuits, and he's used to dealing with the harder ones on the daily there. But Coconut Mall not too far away, and a chance then for these players to showcase, all right, well, 6 down, 6 to go. What is left in the tank?
That's the real question for a lot of these races, as we see some of the wonderful patrons that are joining us here on the stage for Nintendo Live in Sydney for the first time ever. Very excited to be a part of it. Very excited to be a part of this wonderful AUNZ Championship as well as we get ourselves into course number 7, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Coconut Mall. Panda is out in front on 20 points ahead of the next best in BLJ. But right now, Panda dropping all the way down in the 6th.
To the second half of the competition here, and this is where you really start to ask yourself some questions about, do I need to make any kind of adjustments, you know, maybe tweak a few things? Do I want to start intentionally targeting some of these players right up the top of the point standings, and especially if I'm in the top 6, try to make up a bit of a differential where possible?
Be quicker, that takes a nice early lead as we go into the picture-in-picture. And notice that there is a couple of cars really separating him from the rest of the pack right now. All eyes will be on him. Banana in pocket, ready to try and cause up a bit of a stir. But really wants to try and keep this as clean as possible. Make sure that any error is not of his own choosing.
Yeah, we see that there's a very tight group in this top 4 already, probably the tightest that we've had throughout the entirety of today, as Zakatar, unfortunately, is going to cop a lot of those items as well, trying to get down the escalators and try and get themselves back in towards touching distance of this top 3, as we see the blue shield's going to come in and smack down Fwiko here as they go over the ramp, so that's going to be a lot of their momentum completely stunted in the back half of this second lap.
Yeah, holding onto the bomb as well, can be dropping that and potentially setting up a nasty surprise for someone before. There's the blooper. Unfortunately, you know, tagging up Fwiko there a little bit, but it's not going to slow him down. He's still maintaining that first place. There's the bomb laid perfectly for Aaron, who's not too happy about that.
Not happy whatsoever. He's in second, but you wouldn't know if you looked at the mini-map right now. It's complete Ben, already been eclipsed. Mood and Panda also making a massive surge in this final lap. You can see Vike also with Boom associated too, looking to try and see if they can steal away first position. But it's all about Fwiko, and it's soon to be taken away.
Yeah, Fwiko unfortunately did just get caught out there by Mooden, who had a bit of a slow start to this championship, but now he's starting to streak home, especially when it comes to course number 7. They will go across the finish line in first, and as we said, ladies and gentlemen, it is anybody's tournament at this point with Mooden getting the first victory for the day.
That's huge. You know, he's pretty low in terms of the point standings. He might have even been 12th place, I think, overall, and that win is going to at least put him into 11th. It's still a lot of points to make up, but if he can get some more dubs on the board, can potentially put himself into a more respectable finish towards the end of things.
Yeah, just boosting him all the way up from, 12th to 9th, so still a lot of leg room to try and make up, but to assert yourself in the second half of this competition that, hey, there's plenty more games to be done, and that you can be that far ahead, but always lap number 3, there are so many twists and turns.
Yeah, especially when it comes to a lot of these items as well. Maybe some of these competitors in the back are able to soak it up as well. And, you know, when it comes to these blue shells, it comes down to timing as well, right? You saw there for Fuko, unfortunately they got hit mid-jump, which means they drop directly down to the floor and they don't get that extra bit of momentum to go through the entirety of the jump. And that just means that Muden was able to close the gap and then eventually get that overtake halfway through lap number 3 and then close it out for a course victory. So course number 8 here, Pilski, the Peach Gardens is going to be up next as we see the scores that we get in from Coconut Mall. Panda gets 10, so they get a decent amount, but unfortunately for BLJ, only 4 points out of that course, Pilski. That means that that lead is just going to eke further and further forward.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. I think looking at the overall standings, you got Panda way out in front, sitting, I believe, right next to BLJ. So, you know, those are definitely two that are closely competing with one another, but Fuiko as well right up the top there, and not many points in between second place and 5th right now. It really could be any kind of order of standings as we head in towards that 8th game.
That we certainly do. I'm excited for this one, right? Off to the Peach Gardens from the Moon Cup, a chance to showcase, all right, once again, what we have on offer. And let's talk about Muden then. Has played this game for 7 years with his favorite item being the Boo, which is an interesting one, right? Not the most common one, but loves the Waluigi pinball from the Nintendo DS.
Big Waluigi fan. I definitely do enjoy a few of the shenanigans that Waluigi gets up to in all manner of games. So I'm a little sad that we don't see too much diversity when it comes to a lot of these characters that we have here in Mario Kart 8. It seems like Yoshi is definitely the one that is a fan favorite so far, but it seems like so far we are getting ourselves some good Mario Kart 8 nonetheless here, Pilski, as we're getting very, very deep into the tournament. This is where it all comes down to these last couple of races. You want to try and get as many of these dubs as you possibly can, and for some of those players that are hovering around the middle of the pack here, 1 or 2 course victories could start to rock them in second.
5 more maps. So, you know, not very much to play. It goes by so quickly, you know, you're going out of the gates in the Animal Crossing Cup and all of a sudden it's the last game of the tournament, you know, so need to maintain that focus. Boom, interesting little route around the side here. Haven't seen this before, Skimmy.
Not at all, yeah. Boom's really making something look a little bit bizarre right now. Set at 8, walks through every single item box and says, yeah, I'll take more than 2, but it's just not possible there, mate.
Well, looking at Panda here, 3rd overall, on the tails of Fuiko. BLJ right up in first. A lot of these players sitting shoulder to shoulder with one another, so well aware of their positioning on the course and trying to make sure that they can make up that distance. Muden was right out in front there, but getting knocked down to 7th, unfortunately, won't have too many players to be tripping up with the bananas.
Yeah, it seems like this Peach Gardens had a few more of these interesting strats that we were going to get whipped out a little bit later on in the tournament, and it seems like they've come out here in course number 8. BLJ, though, seems completely unfazed. Out in front, Panda, though, is able to take that first position back off of them, but this is where things start to get a little bit dicey as we go through the gardens here. You want to try and make sure you don't get kicked by any of these extra items as you go through it.
It does just feel like, Luke, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, once again, back to a Panda BLJ love affair where it's them wrestling it out to try and claim that first pole position. But it's Reese Fricko now being a bit of a menace in the back line there. He's going to take second for the meantime. BLJ in his sights. Got the shells, got 2 equipped. And they're going to try and find the perfect moment to seize that opportunity.
BLJ, one of the only players not rocking the Yoshi and being way out in front, definitely painting a little bit of a target on his back. 3 boosts there on offer, picked up off the item box, and a lot of shells here for Fuiko in second. A lot of potential chances to try to catch BLJ. There's the blue shell and the green shell, both hitting him at the same time, and Fuiko goes up into first.
There's still a decent amount of this race to go, though, so if you're Fuiko, you really want to try and hold on to some more of those shells. You see BLJ dropping all the way down into 4th. They've got Aaron in their sights. They've got Fuiko in their sights as well. The boombox will come through, and Panda luckily had that mushroom to get themselves restarted, but Fuiko now going back through the gardens. There's only a little bit left of this course here, Skimmy.
Final third of this one, 2 items equipped. He's going to hope that he can get himself, yeah, there's the mushroom as well with that green shell, boosting across on that shortcut. Looking to try and retain that pole position for as long as he can. Down the home straight, it's going to be Aaron that steals it away and claims his first victory of the game.
Always a feel-good moment to at least win yourself a race, even if the point standings are not looking fantastic overall. At least feeling like you can take a dub against some of the best Mario Kart players in the country has got to feel good, Luke.
Yeah, especially after that previous course as well. You saw that Aaron wasn't too happy with that result, but now be able to come back in onto the Peach Gardens and get it in those final couple of moments. Fuiko was in the lead for the majority of that final lap, but when it counts, that's when Aaron was able to come in and take the dub. And now with 8 maps done, Only a few more to go here. This is where things start to get really interesting. These standings are going to be oh so tight, Skibby, as well. We still will have our outright leader in Panda, but this tournament is starting to get very, very tight.
Yeah, nobody in triple digits just yet. It's going to be Panda at 92 points, though, so certainly still is showcasing that there's going to need a little bit of lady luck from some of these individuals to claw away at that deficit. But a nice little technical course, right? Straight through the gardens as well in particular. Got to keep a real tight line to make sure that those item boxes do not lock you down.
Yeah, already seen a couple of these players go for some risky little shortcuts, maybe trying to pick up a couple of extra items. Did not necessarily make the biggest difference in this one, but definitely a couple courses out there where there are some jumps that can make a pretty huge difference and actually end up being a risk versus reward factor that pays off massive. And especially if you're so far down in points and you need to try to make something up, then those are the kind of risks that you probably need to be taking, Luke.
Especially if some of these players are hovering around, the middle to lower third of this leaderboard. It's probably time to have fun. You can try and test out a few things. Maybe have a look at this extra
what? It's similar to other games that are kind of points-based game to game here. I am kind of wondering at what point somebody's going to say, well, I'm not winning this tournament. I'm going to have a little bit of fun. It's Mario Kart. Maybe try to sabotage my mate, in the tournament, throw a couple extra shells his way just for funsies, and why not?
Look, I just hope that the players aren't doing any sort of mental arithmetics in their head right now. They're fully focused on the map because, look, as casters, it's an unwritten rule that we never do caster math. It fails. Suddenly forget what 2 + 2 is, right? So obviously watching these players here, you're thinking, 20 points ahead of me. Can I catch it up? I think you can. I mean, for Fueko in particular, he's really come into his own by map 8.
I mean, we see our previous race champion here in Aaron triple red shells, so it seems like they want to be a little bit aggressive. We saw when it came to Panda, they liked the triple red mushroom, so you can try and get that extra bit of speed, try and take a few more of those corners a little faster, whereas a little bit more aggressive with the 3 red shells means that you can just take out all your opponents in front. You don't need to hit those mad drifts. All you have to do is get them bopped with a shell. As we get into the Piranha Plant Cove here, map number 9, we only have 3 after this one where it will all get determined with 21 points in the lead here for Panda. As long as things don't go catastrophic for them, Pilski, they are definitely in pole position.
100%, just maintaining that 20-point lead and everyone else kind of jostling position between 2nd and 6th for the time being. But here we go into the underwater vibes. I was saying yesterday, this looks like somewhere that, Jar Jar Binks might be hanging out. Love the look of this map. The under the sea vibes are definitely excellent.
There we are, we're lights out here at the Piranha Plant Cove. It's a chance then for them to showcase just how clever they've been with some of these strategies. A nice little bounce there from Fueko, going to keep the majority of his momentum as we keep eyes firmly fixated on the last map winner in Aaron. Currently at 7th, a few members in his sights, and with all those shells bouncing around, I can imagine that middle pack is going to jostle very quickly.
Yeah, you can see here there's a little bit of this technical know-how coming in from Panda as well, really trying to get the glide going from side to side. You do get a little bit of that extra momentum as you do glide from left to right, so Panda's just really trying to use a lot of the jumps that are here in the Cove and just trying to eke at that lead. And we can see here, Pilski, it's still a very tight race.
They're keeping the green shell in the back, wanting to try to maintain that first position, starting to max out on the coins now and cycle through a few more items here. Just going to maintain that green shell, picking up the coins. You got the triple mushroom picked up there for one of the players in the bottom left that needed to make up a little bit more room. You got the banana peel here for Cod. He's going to pick up a few more items. Use that mushroom to try to get a little bit of a boost and catch up to Zakata in 2nd place here if possible.
This is a big one if actually either COD49 or Zakata can get this one across the line, because currently they're sitting in 11th and 9th in the standings respectively. A pole position or a chance to be on the standings, on the podium I should say, would really do wonders for their chances.
Yeah, especially with a lot of these corners really being able to come into it. This Piranha Plant Cove is a little bit of a longer course, so we can still see in this final lap there is plenty of momentum for a lot of these players. COD49 and Zakata, they're starting to fight it out with Panda here in these last couple of corners, going for the shortcut. They got hit by the shell there. That's unfortunate for COD49.
Yeah, I think he found himself a target of one of the shells, maybe aimed at Panda or Zakata at the top side there. Red shell thrown out by Zakata to claim first place. There is a huge play, Skimmy.
And it certainly is. He's got himself the green shell and the coin. He's looking to try and retain this one as best he can. Not much daylight between him and 2nd place right now, and he's fully aware of that, trying to keep these lines as tight as possible to maintain that drift and all that crucial momentum across the finishing line, and it will be Zakata with his first one of the tournament.
Justice, honestly, you know, we thought he was going to take that first place in the very first race, and unfortunately, you know, gets cut off at the final hurdle. So to see him win a race, that's justified, Luke. You know, similar to some of my personal struggles in the past. Sometimes you don't, you know, achieve it straight away, but if you stay persistent, you'll get yourself a dub at the end of the day.
Yeah, big props to Zakata being able to keep in the fight here and be able to eke out that victory. We just saw how tight that course was. It really was a big fight for that top three. You know, Panda, Cod, and Zakata really just going tooth and nail towards the end there. Just a few more of these extra shells going the way of Panda means that they do not finish in first. And a lot of our other competitors as well. It means that every single one of these courses has been so tight here, Skimmy. It's really been such an interesting fight for a lot of these players. And, you know, the difference between coming 9th and 3rd is still a whole lot of points. And that could mean that you can rocket yourself up in the standings as well and maybe have a podium finish.
Absolutely. I mean, top 5 is definitely the goal for a lot of these individuals, right? Even to try and stay competitive in the standings. Nobody wants to come last, I'm sure. But overall, yeah, it's still anybody's game. And we talk about Panda at great lengths, being the favorite, being at the World Championships this year and coming into this one and showcasing why all those accolades ring true. But it's not being without challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even if you see him go back-to-back or you see some similar placings for some of these players, you know, you might be a casual Mario Kart player, you might say, this game is so random, man, like, I don't know how I can't win my races, but when you look at a competitive circuit like this, Luke, and see consistent results, see the same players finishing up there in the top 6, there's definitely a method to the madness.
Yeah, there definitely is. You can just see the skill that is coming out from all of these players as well. I mean, big props to all of them being able to get out here. All 12 of these races are great in their own right, but Panda now, this lead is starting to become bigger and bigger, Skimmy. We saw 20 points a few races ago. It is now just eked out to 25. It is starting to get very, very dicey. But look at this top 3, man. There is, what, 7 points in that between 4th and 2nd?
Yeah, it's all to play for, and it just brings into question now more and more that idea of, one, strategy for the game, but also, what is the approach towards these league leaders? I mean, if you look at Panda and say, I need 2 wins minimum just to even try and get anywhere near close to him, does that become a focus now of this next match? Okay, I think I'm out of this one. I'm far too down in the standings. Might as well upset the apple cart and make sure that people next to me can still have a chance at lifting that trophy.
Yeah, hear me out. Collusion.
Teams have been turned off, Pilski, so that's not going to be happening with our races.
Unfortunate, as we see some fun facts about Zakata. A lot of these players play for a lot of years. Most of them, you know, 5+, couple 7 years. We had a couple of the boys, though, who only played for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
So
yeah.
if you're only just picking up Mario Kart, don't feel too distressed to see a couple of the veterans here. There are a couple of newer players that have made their way to the top 12 here.
Well, what a flex that is to say that my favorite map is the Rainbow Road. Yeah, I like pain and punishment.
The SNES version as well.
Absolutely, I like it when things are difficult because if I can master it, I can flex. I can show off that I'm a little bit better.
It is definitely one of the old school favorites for a lot of those Mario Kart players who have been playing for a very, very long time. But we're going to be going into the DK Mountain here. We're going to the final stretch of these courses. Well, we've only got 3 courses left. DK Mountain, Rainbow Road Wii Edition, into the Sydney Sprint. We're going to be finishing it off on the shores of Nintendo Live. We'll see who our champion will be for the AUNZ Championship for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in 2024. And our leader right now, Panda, is off to a hot start, Pilski.
Straight into the cannon. This map is so cool. Gives such an old school vibe. You can see even like some of the newer things coming in with the cannon and the way you propelled up onto the volcano there. Beautiful visuals, absolutely love to see it. Zakata down in 12th, and you know, direct contrast to that, but something we're used to seeing. Panda and BLJ right up the front there, Skimmy.
He certainly is. BLJ has let off the gas a little bit in recent times, currently set in 5th in the standings. It's all going to be about drop there, whether or not he can cause a bit of a stir, but he's going to get knocked on down. Mooden looking to try and claw his way through the middle of the park, currently set at 4th with Flicker in his sights and somebody boosting right past him. But no surprises, it's Panda in first once again.
Yeah, we can see a little bit of the movement tech coming in from Panda as well, copying a lot of these shortcuts, being able to just cut down on the amount of time they need to be on the course here and get themselves out to a big lead with the cannon, getting themselves towards the top of DK Mountain here as they make their way back down once again. So this is a pretty tight race here as we see our top 4 in your screen so far. We've got as well as the remainder of this top 4 still trying to take down Panda, who was out in the lead.
Yeah, getting that green shell ready, getting hit with the lightning strike and the blooper back to back, giving him a lot of problems, but still maintaining that top 3 position. Bike and Panda neck and neck here, and Bike managing to get himself right up the front, ready to drop the bomb behind him, and I think it did actually connect onto Panda there.
Yeah, really well executed there to get that jump across the wall for Viking to knock them down in the process too. And that's what we're asking. Will Panda now become focus number 1? Will everybody band together to try and get themselves in the mix?
Yeah, it was a nice little bit of tech there with the item as well, knowing that Panda wants to try and take that shortcut. Just throwing the bomb in front of their face means they drop decently down here. There is a few of these yellow Yoshis, not 100% sure where Panda has ended up. And with BLJ out in the front now, means that they are able to start to close this lead on the leaderboard as well, especially with a lot of these corners. And the mushroom as well here, Pilski.
Yeah, showing us the shortcut tech as well. Hit a beautiful red shell, and as you mentioned, having the mushroom there, Cod, hot on his heels, ready with the boombox there, trying to connect onto him. I think BLJ actually copying a blue shell.
Oh!
There you go! The shortcut does not pay off for Cod. He's back down into 7th now. That's disastrous.
Oh, Mario Kart giveth and Mario Kart taketh away. Unfortunately for COD 49, that will fall down in the rankings, but BLJ back in the winner's circle. Gets themselves a victory. Zakata and Wicco in 3, and Panda all the way down in 7th, Skimmy.
Yeah, and this is what people are hoping for, right? Panda finally knocked off that perch and saying, yeah, you can have all this daylight between us and the rest, but we're coming for you. I think it's a bit of vindication for BLJ, right? 2 wins back-to-back very early on into this tournament. Had a few rough affairs. You're thinking he's dropping right out that top 5 conversation, but he's back in the mix, gets that win. And that's what we wanted to see, right? Those shortcuts, take the gamble.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Yeah, but you know, you got to respect that at that point, especially being the overall standings. You got to make big plays to get big placements, and unfortunately, you know, Panda being the target of some tall popping syndrome in multiple senses of the phrase, but at the end of the day, he's still way up the top of the standings, and even with the 7th place, he's still feeling pretty good. COD not too happy with that, you wouldn't be. And Zakata, another pretty deep finish for him. He's, you know, making a little bit of a comeback. I would love to see him try to sneak his way into the top 6 right at the end of things here, Luke.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the consistency that we're starting to see from some of these races as well, right? We're starting to see the same couple of names creeping towards the top of the charts, and that means that more of these points are going to keep rolling in as well. Unfortunately for COD 49, dropping all the way down into 9th there when they were in the 2nd place. Yeah. I mean, this is what happens, right? As we said, taking these risks with a lot of these shortcuts as well. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't.
Aaron as well has had a lot of good finishes, did not have a particularly great start to the tournament, but he actually was able to overtake Zakata for a little bit and still is into 6th place, so trying to maintain himself a top 6 and could even potentially try to climb higher, Skimmy.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think now you're looking, if you're, especially for Wicco and BLJ, you're looking at this next game saying, hopefully I can get myself that 1st, 2nd for the bonus points. You're really hoping that Panda once again falls out into that top 7 conversation for the limited amount of points to pick up as a result. So, I mean, it's still, this could really go down to the wire. It could all go down to that Sydney sprint.
It definitely could, especially with the amount of points that are on offer here. So if Panda, if they finish 12th in 2 races in a row, they are definitely catchable. So this is still on, ladies and gentlemen, with 2 races to go as we get ourselves ready for map number 11. That is right, it is for the Old Faithful in Rainbow Road. And this is going to be a course, Pilski, where we will be seeing a lot of these players take risks, especially with the amount of points that are going to be on offer, and with Panda still within touching distance.
Yeah, BLJ there, I think he was one of the boys who did put down the bomb. Years played 2, there you go. You know, even if you're only just picking up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you could definitely, you know, put in some hard yards for a short amount of time and potentially be a contender. This man is pretty consistently finishing right up the top of the races, even getting himself a couple of dubs. So, you know, definitely not outside the realms of possibility if you want to start making some big plays in Mario Kart for yourself.
I think it's always exciting as well as inspiring then for fans and viewers alike out there to say, well, you know, here's somebody on the stage really giving it to some of the best in the country, and they've only been playing it for a couple of years, right? You can play it casually, find a bit of an interest in it, develop a bit of a knack, and then, hey, presto, you're online competing week in, week out.
Yeah, and the best thing about that as well is you're able to compete with a lot of these top-tier racers who have been around the block. Ladies and gentlemen, map number 11 is underway. It's a Rainbow Road. Our leader in the championship so far is Panda, but they've dropped all the way down into 12th. There's plenty of this race to go here, Skimmy, but right now, not looking good for Panda.
It certainly isn't, but absolutely phenomenal for the rest of the competitors right now as the Guardrails are off, it's all unleashed right now. You're going to navigate this one and really make sure if you make a mistake, it's a very long way down.
Yeah, Panda down in 11th here. We were saying it before, if he has a couple of bad finishes here, someone has some massive placements, this could completely turn around this tournament. BLJ out in first yet again. He just won himself a race, but is very tight up the front of the pack here, Luke.
We can see a lot of these shortcuts really coming to fruition here on the Rainbow Road. This is what everybody knows and understands. There is a lot of these neat little shortcuts you can take, and if you get those risks to pay off, you can start to scorch up the leaderboard as we see Panda coming back into 5th already, still with so many laps to go.
Going to be Mooden that makes a rare surge towards the front of the pack right now. Undeterred, BLJ was the focus, dropped down to 3rd as a result, and Zakata was very close behind, but after a few rogue skill shots hit him, is all the way down into 10th. Panda though, phenomenal job to come all the way from 12th right back into 2nd.
And respect to Mooden, he's rocking the Donkey Kong as well, so a bit of a heavier character. You can see a lot of people wanting to use Yoshi. There's the blue shell though, catching up to Mooden. Nice shortcut taken by Panda, and he's going to snatch that first place away.
Oh, it's all coming down to these last couple of races. You can see that Panda took that risk to try and take the corner there, and it only just paid off for them. So if some of these extra items come out from these members in the middle of the pack, this is where things can start to change. Mooden, though, is going to come here with a red shell, wants to try and lock onto the target in front of him. That is Panda, who has started to streak out a little bit ahead when it comes to this course here, Skimmy, and we are getting ever closer to this final lap.
Final lap, here we go then. Can Mooden, can the rest of the pack actually cause a bit of disarray and upset the balance by taking down Panda? He is the focus, cannot afford to get these double-digit points. They need to limit his impact as Drop Bear, as well as BLJ, middle of the pack, are hunting on this bend.
Yeah, tightly contested from 2nd through to 5th. Mooden maintaining his position right up the front of things. Panda's already streaked away. I don't think anyone's catching him at this point. Trying to ride the side of the course here. Zakata trying to catch up as well. He's also switched over to the Donkey Kong, so maybe a bit of a Donkey Kong meta on offer here at Rainbow Road, Luke.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of these players trying to change it up as we get towards the end of the AUNZ Championship. So with the lightning strike that comes in now as well, Panda is within touching distance. He's dropped down into 3rd, 4th, and 6th. He's tumbling down the leaderboard here, and our champion so far needs to claw his way back into the final moments of Rainbow Road. All these items are being on display, and with the final stretch coming in, Skimmy, it's Mooden that's in the lead.
It's Mooden that takes all the points here, and a massive, massive late game play there on that final bend to save Panda. You cannot have that guaranteed win going into the Sydney Sprint.
Yeah, down to 7th. That's another rougher finish, but he's already got so many points. But credit to Mooden as well. One of these players switching over to the Donkey Kong, a bit of a heavier character, a little bit harder to knock around, and particularly on an unstable map like Rainbow Road. That's definitely paid off in spades.
It definitely has, and a lot of these risks being taken from a lot of these other races as well, right? You can see this is what happens when you are the leader of the championship when it comes to these final couple of courses, Skimmy. That target is big, it is red, and it is easy to see for everybody playing along. And that means now going into the Sydney Sprint, as we have a look at our final leaderboard, that's what I'm looking for here, is to see how close these players are.
Is it possible? Is Panda outright first, or can anybody look to try and hold a candle against him? Because you saw at the very start here, he makes a massive surge towards the front of the pack. It's knocked all the way back down to 12. But it showcases why he's got the skills, why he's got the accolades and achievements under his belt to make it all the way back into pole.
Yeah, even overtaking Mooden and throwing a boomerang back in his direction. Unfortunate. Going to be sent off the side there, so the risk does not pay off. Love to see the little replay there to give a bit of context as to what happened exactly in that map. But look, Panda's already done very, very well for himself, heading into the final map of the AUNZ Championship here for Mario Kart. Once again, another big finish for Zakata. Drop Bear continues to put in good work, as well as Flicko. Very consistent placements for a lot of these players, definitely trying to vie for a podium finish or a top 6 at the very minimum.
Yeah, unfortunately for Panda not getting double-digit points, but I think luckily enough for them, I think they are far enough away from Flicko and TK Dropbear, who has got themselves into 3rd here. So there still is a fight, ladies and gentlemen. Panda is in a big lead right now. Fortunately, I don't think they can be caught, but there is still a fight for the rest of the podium here, Skimmy.
That certainly is, right? Definitely the bragging rights about being, for some of these players, their first time on a stage, having to experience what it's like to play in front of a crowd as well, to showcase, look, if we came second, came third, we get a medal, you can feel pretty content about just how well you've done in your first event.
Yeah, it'd be great to win a race as well, particularly on the last one of the tournament. You know, the recency bias, everyone will maybe
yeah, sure.
Who was the champion, particularly on the Sydney Sprint. Flicko here, taking a little bit of a look at him. favorite item, the star. You know, a lot of, it's interesting to see a lot of these players, they have different kind of approaches. Either they like the more common items, the consistent ones like the mushrooms or the triple shell, things like that. But, you know, there are those very powerful items that can make a pretty massive difference when you're able to get them.
Certainly don't think you can feel too amiss when you've got the star, the immunity, the boost, the ability to try and, if you're constantly amongst the middle of the pack, just to wrestle your way through and create a bit of a divide. But yeah, the final map on home soil, you can't really ask for much more than that there, Luke.
You definitely can't. Coming into the Sydney Sprint here live at Nintendo Live in Sydney, Australia for the very first time. So it's very exciting for these races to be finishing out the AUNZ Championship in our final race, as we did have a little bit of a false start. But we're going to get into it, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. The Sydney Sprint is underway. And our champion so far, Panda, is only down in 5th, but there is still a big fight for that top 3, Pilski.
100% last chance to be able to get yourself a dub on the board here in the AUNZ Championship. Mario Kart 8 has been a hotly contested competition all day long. Aaron up in 2nd here. You're seeing a lot of these players really mixed up in terms of the standings. Panda still right up the front. Mooden, though, having a lot of good games right towards the tail end of the competition, wants to try to make a bit of a difference, Skimmy.
He certainly does, but you just have to feel for him maybe a little bit too late, right, in terms of currently set an 8th position in the standings. But if he can find another win here today, that would be, what, his 3rd pole of the tournament.
Yeah, just trying to get a lot of these dubs on the board for the remainder of these races as well. Trying to finish out strong, just trying to end on a high. As I see the squid come out for a lot of these other races, it is very hard for them to try and see what's going on, and that's where we see a lot of these bombs do a lot of their work. Luko unfortunately ran into some of those and is going to tumble down in the standings so far, but still a very close race here on the Sydney Sprint, Pilski.
Mooden hot on the heels of Panda here, and Rose looking to potentially get themselves a win. I don't think we've seen them win a race yet, so that'll be a great way to finish the tournament, even if you're not taking it out. But eating the blue shell is not going to be the way to do it. Panda also copping a little bit of that. The fireballs coming out. Mooden cops a few of those, back down into 4th place now.
Just makes
Panda
it
once again up first, Skimmy.
He certainly is, and you're thinking, oh, well, certainly somebody else can look to try and make a bit of a surge here and showcase what they're about, but Panda says, nah, it's all about me. You're all living in my world, and I get to experience the euphoria of winning one more time. Bill J, COD49, hot on his heels, looking for the ramp, hoping for the right power-up with the right lineup.
Yeah, they've got a lot of these shells as well, and as you can see, a lot of these races, they understand these red shells aren't going to be that guaranteed position that they usually are, considering they all have one in the back pocket. So they have to be careful, they have to bide their time, especially as we come into these last couple of corners here, Pilski.
Yeah, this is the victory lap for Panda in terms of the whole competition. Let's be honest, looking to be the back-to-back champion. Qualified to go internationally before, and he wants to try to win himself another Mario Kart tournament into the last lap here. Give him a round of applause, guys. He's done so well all tournament long. Beautiful stuff from Panda, winning himself the last race, and of course to cap it off and win in the overall point standings. Who else would you be considering to win it?
That's true. It has been a very consistent day from our returning champion in Panda, being able to get it done in 2023. Now get it done in 2024. Very, very consistent racing from Panda. Very, very consistent racing from everybody throughout the entirety of today. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give another quick round of applause to every single one of our racers that's up here on the stage. That's right, they are your 12 competitors for the AUNZ Championship for 2024 in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. As we have a look at some of the highlights here, but Skimmy, it seems like today has been a very big race for Panda, being able to get a lot of those podiums and a lot of those pole positions.
Yeah, 4 wins out of the 12 maps that we did play on, and it really was a case of showcasing that, look, I am the best player in the country, in the region right now, and that whilst you can look to try and catch up to me, it's just not enough. 128 points, the only person in the tournament out of the 12 players to reach triple digits.
Yeah, look, credit to BLJ as well, though. A lot of deep finishes for them, and with only 2 years experience playing, and one of the only players who didn't spam Yoshi all tournament long. Pretty respectable stuff, if you ask me.
Pretty respectful not to spam the Yoshis, but I think, you know, throughout the entirety of today, there has been quite a lot of highlights for me. You know, it feels like after seeing Panda really be able to put on a lot of that tech as well. I think the biggest thing for me, Skimmy, was going towards the end of the tournament. There was quite a lot of risks being taken from a lot of these players, and that's what I really admire.
Absolutely, and I was really wondering at what point we'd start to see that, if they come out very early on to try and set the tone, or if they'd say, look, I need to try and play this as consistently as possible. Yeah. Almost, you know, let myself take the wheel and just go for it and sort of see what materializes as a result. But by the end, you saw all those risks, and yeah, they worked out phenomenally.
There you go. Look, overall standings, 128 points for Panda. That is a dominant win. That's over, you know, almost 2 races. one.
Do the math, Pilly.
Ahead of BLJ. It's not quite. It's not quite. But it's almost.
It's 31 points.
Is it 31? Okay, yeah, my math's.
Is it 31?
No, it's 29.
Okay, don't take my, yeah, okay,
29,
it's 29.
What do we
Made
say,
me
boys?
second guess myself, Luke.
He said no caster math. We've learned this lesson very, very
I did it correctly and he gaslighted me.
I made the one mistake, but the mistake is not that Panda is the victor. But look at how tight the rest of this tournament is, guys. You know, the fact that from second all the way down in towards 6th, even going all the way down into 8th, there is still within touching distance of each other.
Yeah, 100%.
I just love the 1 point separation between second and fourth, right? I mean, that for me says this is how close it was, but yeah, Panda showcasing that it's going to take me to retire for you boys to take my position.
A lot of very consistent performers though, and it's very respectable to get yourself in towards the top 6 as well, showing great consistency across all of the races. It was a great tournament.
A great tournament indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to join our champion on stage with our big man, Avril.
Thank you so much, Luke. I'm joined here with Panda, our champion for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Congratulations, mate. Look, it was a really dominant race from you. Honestly, from almost start to finish, a little bit risky towards the end there, but you had, what, 6 podiums, 4 first-place finishes, 3 of them were all like a 3-peat back-to-back-to-back. What's your secret to consistency? How is your kart just faster? Like, what's going on?
I mean, I just try and practice the driving aspect of the game, so I just try and break away as far as possible and then, yeah, just go from there pretty much.
All right, now, you are not just the champion for this year in 2024. You actually won last year as well in 2023, so you're now the back-to-back champion. How does that sound to you?
Sounds good. Nothing more to say. It sounds good, though. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as the best, now 2 years in a row, best Mario Kart player in Australia, you have to give the fans of Mario Kart at least one tip on how to get better at the game.
I mean, just practice your driving, because, I mean, it paid off just then, so, yeah.
Okay. No worries. All right, well, to present the trophy, let me welcome to the stage a representative from Nintendo Australia and New Zealand, Kirsty Twall. And give it up one more time for our 2024 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe back-to-back champions, Panda!
That's right, the back-to-back champion in Panda raises the trophy one more time here in Sydney at Nintendo Live for the AUNZ Championships for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Doing it twice, Pilsky, doing it twice so dominantly as well goes to show that all it takes is a little bit of practice, as Panda said himself.
Yeah, you know, we see dominance in a lot of domestic esports, and it seems like it's no different here in Mario Kart, but my favorite thing, you know, my favorite takeaway by far is just the tip to practice your driving. I think it's something that a lot of people, particularly in the suburbs around where I live, could benefit from.
Yeah, look, we don't want any road rage. Keep that in the game, right? We don't want it on our actual streets. But I mean, for me, a fantastic event for memories for Panda, right? To claim so many records, right? The last map win, you get that one, 4 wins in a row, or 4 wins in total, I should say. To be back-to-back champion of the continent, I mean, it is just a dream to do it in front of a stage when it's the first time Nintendo Live's been here in Sydney too.
Yeah, I know, it's been super exciting, the whole event in and of itself. The fact that all 12 races were back-to-back as well, Pilsky. You know, as we said, we've covered a whole boatload of different games, but this is kind of one of the unique ways that Mario Kart 8 does it, is the fact that you have to keep playing. And the thing is, for, you know, Panda and a lot of these other races, you don't get that time to sit back and try and change your strategy. It's all about how you come out of the gates.
Yeah, but I would say, you know, every time we saw the camera on him, he looked pretty calm, he looked pretty composed, he didn't really look like he was sweating it too much, and I feel like, especially with the early couple of wins, like I think it was mentioned before, the back-to-back wins as well, I think from that point in the competition, you're feeling very comfortable, very safe about getting yourself the double.
I'm sure you look at the standings, right, Luke, and you say, there's a 30-point buffer, like, unless I completely mess up, there's no way they can catch me. That seemed to be the case, right, as we got especially towards, what, map 7 and 8, you're seeing Mooden and so on start to try and take away some wins. Spirits were high. Doesn't really matter where are they in relation to the standings, and off he went.
Exactly, off he went indeed to another championship here. And for everybody else that is playing along at home, I'd like to thank you for joining us for another wonderful day of the AUNZ Championships for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Before we say goodbye, we're going to say goodbye to Skimmy today. So Skimmy, any final thoughts from Mario Kart?
Yeah, just a pleasure to be here. It was great to go down memory road as a child, now to be on the other end of the screen to commentate and watch players that are far, far better than me. So That's why I'm talking, because these hands don't work anymore.
Exactly, that's the reason why we're all standing at a desk. Ladies and gentlemen, and thank you once again for joining us for another wonderful evening of the AUNZ Championships for 2024, live from Nintendo Live in Sydney, Australia. Congratulations to our champion once again, Panda here for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I've been Fluke. As always, stay safe. See you guys for the next one.
Start to settle early on here. Who's going to take themselves in this one?
One final boost, doesn't opt for the little shortcut there. Wants to play as clean as he can. Oh, just this pitch!
A lap to go. This could be Panda's race to lose.
Oh, getting knocked though. Try to find the right item to make the difference. There you go. He's got himself the boombox, but unfortunately not able to make it good enough.
And Wicko's out in front here. They still got about half a course to try and go. That eventually will go into the leader. There's a couple more of these shells that are starting to hit in there.
Running into a couple of issues, getting hit by the squid.
Oh, he's going to get hit by 2 in a row now. Lightning into the blue shell. It's going to really slow down just how much of
The blue shell's going to come in and smack down Wicko here as they go over the ramp. So that's
The boombox there trying to connect onto him. I think BLJ actually copying a blue shell.
Oh!
There you go. There's the blue shell though, catching up to Mooden. Nice shortcut taken by Panda, and he's going to snatch that first place away.
Oh, it's all right that comes in now as well. Panda is within touching distance. He's dropped down into third, fourth, sixth. He's tumbling down the leaderboard here.
Way to finish the tournament, even if you're not taking it out, but eating the blue shell is not going to be the way to do it. Panda also copying a little looking to be the back-to-back champion. Qualified to go internationally before, and he wants to try to win himself another Mario Kart tournament into the last up year. Give him a round of applause, guys. He's done so well all tournament long. Beautiful.
2024 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe back-to-back champions Panda